Welcome into season number 3 of The Butcher versus the Spin Instructor. I'm Neil McCready. This show brought to you for the third straight year by our friends at LB's Meat Market, 2008 University Avenue in Oxford. Freshest cuts. I tell people this all the time. If you don't know where LB's is, it's across the street from Kroger. And once you find LB's, you'll never need Kroger again for meat. You'll just go to LB's. It's absolutely fantastic, whether it's beef or pork or chicken, sausages, wings,
fresh fish,
the jalapeno poppers that Campbell here loves so much. I do too. The stuffed mushrooms, the bacon wrapped asparagus,
and her favorite, the beef tenderloin. I know she's a big beef tenderloin fan.
Beef tenderloin, yep. So, there's a lot there. So, hey, first of all, before we get into all that, Greg, Campbell, how are y'all?
Awesome.
Good.
I've told people that this is football season is a really busy time for me, guys. It's lots of podcasts, lots of writing, lots of reporting. It's just a different time of year. I enjoy it. It's busy. It's kind of hurried sometimes, but this is a half hour that I catch myself every week looking forward to. This show started as just an idea, and 2 years ago it was pandemic, and I didn't know what coverage would look like or whatever, and I was like, what could we do that would be different? And this came to my mind, and I was at LB's and I threw it at Greg, who went, sure. And
there's not a lot of things I'm going to say no to.
And I've thought about that so many times. How, Greg, you could have easily been like, I don't know, man. I mean, no, I'm not doing that. But you're like, yeah, sure. And it's turned into something really cool. It's something I certainly look forward to. I know that Campbell was in Oxford for a football game or a baseball game or something, and she was out at one of the bars in Oxford, and somebody.
Oh yeah,
you're the spin instructor.
Yeah, I was at Funky's. I think I was at Funky's, and some guy came up to me and he was like, "Is your dad Neil McCready?" Which I get like a lot in Oxford, but he said that he watched this podcast, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the goals we were doing, is just trying to put a face with because everybody, I know you talk about Greg all the time in LB's, and just it kind of helped to we did this podcast to put a face with LB's, and and look at it. Campbell, she's the famous one. She's getting confronted at the bar and say, "Oh, you're the spin instructor."
So I don't know about that, but it's fun for me because obviously you guys are two of my favorite people. I love LB's Meat Market. I love everything about the small business as now a small business owner, and to see the success that Greg's had at LB's. I mean, everybody talks about LB's when they come to town, and you should. We'll get some thoughts about what's going on as we get ready for the first game football week of the season. For those that don't know, and most of you do if you've followed the show, Campbell is now a senior at the University of Arkansas. This is last 2 years she did this show. She was living in the Chi Omega house. This year she's in an apartment, which is about, I don't know, half a mile maybe from the Chi O house there in Fayetteville. It's a home weekend for the Razorbacks as well, as everybody gets started with yet another football season. When we started the show, and I always say this to people are like, man, you seem jacked up about football. And I'll tell you what it is, Greg and Campbell. It's in 2020. There was a time when I didn't know we'd have a football season, and I was so worried about what it would do to my business. And I remember how nervous, Greg, you were about your business, and we
were right in the middle of baseball season. That's usually one of my bigger So yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking.
And Campbell couldn't go to many of the games at Arkansas that year. I think she got to go to one game that year because of all the COVID restrictions and stuff. And here we are going into this weekend. You're going to be just, I'm betting, just cutting meat and stuff all day, Thursday, Friday. You guys will see this on Thursday. We tape on Tuesday afternoon. You're going to be so busy, and Campbell's getting ready, and she and all of her friends will go to the first quarter of the game and take 1,000 Instagram pictures, and then probably go find a place to get a beer. And I'll be covering Ole Miss and Troy at Vaught-Hemingway. I'm going back into stadiums for the first time in a long time. So, yeah, I'm pretty freaking excited about it. I don't think I take it for granted like I probably did pre-2020 when it was just it's another football season. Here we go. I'm glad for football and for so many reasons. For both of you guys, I'm glad. I'm glad for us. So anyway, that's long story short, that's a little bit of background for people who are just jumping in for the first time. These are two of my favorite people, and Campbell is not a football expert. She somehow won season 1 of The Butcher versus the Spin Instructor. And Greg got his revenge in season 2 with a convincing victory in that year, even though Campbell made a run in the bowl games, but it was way too late. It was way too late.
I mean, I think we were both over 75% last year. I mean, that's pretty solid.
The one thing I was going to say to people as we get started, again, if you don't know them, Greg is the proprietor and butcher at LB's Meat Market. Campbell is a spin instructor at Zen Studios in Fayetteville. It's easy to make fun of this show, and some people do in a playful way. If you had just bet with Campbell and Greg last year, if that's all you did was take the games in which Campbell and Greg agreed, you had a really good fall. A really good fall. And if you just took one or the other, you had a really good fall. I mean, even if you took Campbell, who lost the competition, you made a lot of money. And
I think she was over 20 games at least. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was like I said, it's I'm just ready for the new angle. You know, we've got dance moms.
I was just telling him I don't really have many angles this week.
So we don't have a new favorite show this year that you've been watching that kind of can relate to a football pick.
I mean, maybe it will come out of nowhere, but I'm not.
But I will say, I mean, like was it Dance Moms? Is that
I use that once or twice.
And they're based out of Pittsburgh. Are they Pittsburgh? Is that where they're based out of?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
I'm surprised you remember
that. That was a 75% win. I mean, if we just go on the Dance Mom thing, I mean, that's a 75% clip just alone.
Was it Tulsa, the game that she took Tulsa because we have family there, and you were like,
oh yeah.
And then Tulsa came back and won.
Don't we have an uncle or something like that? And I was on such a bad losing streak. And I think SMU was up 21-0 after the first quarter. And I'm like, oh man, I finally got her, you know. And next thing you know, it's 24-21 final score. And I'm like, and it was Tulsa like -1 or something like that, or +1 or something like that.
I use a family or friend of a friend angle a lot, so I'm sure that will make a return for this one.
And the color green.
Yes, I already planned on using the color green for one of these games.
And we don't bet. We always bet against Auburn.
Oh yeah, okay. I forgot about that one.
You forgot about your school tour angle.
Yeah. Oh, I use that one.
Yeah.
You remembered all the angles.
Well, I mean, you know that because it wins over 75% clips. So, I mean,
that first season was a painful memory for Greg.
And I used the
watching the LBs and go, "You're losing."
I pulled out everything. I mean, I'm sure
the journalism conference one in South Carolina that I went to one time in high school. That'll be making a return.
I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure the friend still goes to Notre Dame. So, I mean, Notre Dame's probably going to be a couple picks this year.
Yeah, we'll get to Notre Dame. So this week we're staying in the SEC. There's a lot of SEC games because they're not playing each other yet. Once we get to the point where the SEC teams are clashing, we'll add some other games to have a little fun. But this week it's plenty. So let's get started. Y'all ready to roll?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Thursday night. We got 2 games on Thursday night. The first is Ball State at Tennessee, the 6 p.m. game on the SEC network. Ball State, Greg, you'll go first since you're the defending champ. Ball State is a 32.5-point favorite. First, can either one of you tell me where Ball State is?
Where's it? It's in Ohio. I know that much.
I believe it's in Muncie, Indiana, right?
Oh, okay. Well, then I know they're the Cardinal. That's for sure.
That's the Cardinals. That's right. That's right.
I mean, I don't know if they're the S or not. Yeah, I think they're Cardinals. Maybe.
I think they're the Cardinals.
Yeah, there is somebody that's named Cardinal. Like, or I think it might be
Stanford.
Gotcha. Yeah. You know, after seeing Vanderbilt put up 60, I don't see why Tennessee can't put up 60 on a really bad team. So I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Volunteers here.
All right, Campbell. So he's going to lay 32.5, which is a pretty big number against Ball State, a team that went to the Camellia Bowl last season and lost. They went 6-7 last year. What do you
Is that
think?
an animal or a plant?
Camellia is a plant.
Oh, I thought that was an animal.
That's a chameleon. I'm gonna agree and go with Tennessee here.
All right.
I don't know. I have a reason.
Oh boy, 5-star lock right out the gate.
Right out the gate, you know that Tennessee is blowing out Ball State on Thursday night. Okay, an hour later on Thursday night, Campbell, Louisiana Tech heads to Columbia, Missouri. This game at 7 p.m. on ESPNU. A lot of good games on Thursday, actually. But this is probably not one of the good games, but it's a game nonetheless. Louisiana Tech plus 19. So Missouri is giving the Bulldogs 19 points, Campbell.
I have to take Louisiana Tech here. There's a lot of angles. There's family angle, tour angle. You're from Ruston. So lots of angles in my favor for this one. So I'm going with Louisiana Tech.
All right, Greg. She's going to go with the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs.
Do we have a worse game other than this? Is there another? I mean, I know Vanderbilt's already played. Do we have a worse game of this? Because I was gonna bring it out for the I still got the half gallon of Grey Goose.
I think this is safe for this is the Grey Goose dog game of the week.
And we're going Louisiana Tech here, the Grey Goose. We're still waiting on our sponsorship from Grey Goose, but with that being said, we're going to go La Tech. I like the Ruston angle.
All right, so you're both going to take Tech in the 19. So we get to the Saturday games now. Full slate of games on Saturday. By the way, we're not picking the games that have no line. Texas A&M, Sam Houston, we're not fooling with that. There's no line. Mercer as at Auburn, no line. So Campbell can save her Auburn hatred for another week. Elon, no line at Vanderbilt. That's it. Everybody else has a line. So this is one.
That would have definitely been the Grey Goose game right there. Elon and Vanderbilt for sure.
All right. So Oregon. Dan Lanning, the new coach at Oregon, was the former defensive coordinator at Georgia when the Bulldogs won the national championship last year. They meet up in week 1. This game is at 2:30 Central on ABC. And it's being played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Oregon. The Ducks, Greg, are a 17-point dog.
Whew. I mean, that's a lot of points, for the first game. I know that Georgia probably just reloaded, so I'm pretty sure they're pretty pristine on each side of the ball, so I can't see them not covering 17.5. But I'm going to go with the Ducks here. I know Carolina's going to pull her green angle on this one, and I'm a Duck kind of guy. I like the Ducks.
All right, Campbell. Greg is going to take Oregon, and he's going to he's going to take 17 points against the defending national champs. What do you think?
You're right. I'm going to go with the green angle and go with Oregon. I had planned on that. So I'm going to stick with that one.
Hey, look, I'm sorry I took it. I mean, I didn't need to take it, but, I do remember this show after 3 years. So I definitely remember every angle,
All right, Campbell, the game you'll be attending on Saturday afternoon. Cincinnati coming off of what bowl game did they go to? They went to one of the big bowl games. They went to the national.
They played Alabama in the playoff, right?
Yeah, Cincinnati went to the Final Four last year before losing to Alabama in the Cotton Bowl is where that was. Cincinnati is a 6.5-point underdog at Arkansas. Arkansas coming off of a 9-win season. They're under Sam Pittman. This game is at 2:30 in Reynolds Razorback Stadium on ESPN. Campbell, you are up, and I feel pretty confident which way you're going to go.
Obviously got to go with Arkansas for this one.
So what's the mood up there? Different people have different thoughts on the Razorbacks. What are you hearing? I'm sure you're talking tons of football here in the first couple of weeks of school when you're on campus. I bet you guys are just breaking it down. You're talking schemes and getting depth charts and all that stuff.
We're not really talking much about the football, just that we're excited for, another Saturday.
Instagram pictures.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So, Greg, Campbell's going to take Arkansas, lay the 6.5 at home against Cincy. What do you say?
I will never call the Hogs, but I will take the Hogs with Campbell. I like them here. I think they're sneaky good, and Sam Pittman's a really good coach. And why not take a first home game against a. I just like the home game for them. I like them a lot here.
Yeah, I like Arkansas in this game too, just because Cincinnati, as good as they were last year, and they were really good, a lot of guys that made that team so good are gone. Desmond Ridder and Sauce Gardner and a lot of those guys that made Cincy scary last year are now making money in the NFL. All right, here in Oxford, the game that Greg will be preparing for all week, cutting steaks and making sausages and wrapping jalapeno peppers and all of those things at LB's to get you guys ready for your tailgates and your post-game parties and all that. It's Troy under first-year head coach John Summerall, former Ole Miss assistant, former Kentucky assistant, and really good guy. Troy is a 21.5-point underdog, Greg, at number 21 Ole Miss. This game, if you can't be in Oxford, is on the SEC Network. It kicks off at 3 p.m. Greg?
I think it's interesting. It's kind of hard to not take those points here, but I just think the offense is just too good. I mean, I'm hoping that it's 45-10 at halftime, and maybe the defense is with the defensive depth at line, and that used to not be there in the past. Maybe keep that under 21 points on the defensive side. So. I'll take the points here. I'll do Ole Miss.
All right, Campbell. Greg's going to take the Rebels and lay the 21.5. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Ole Miss as well.
So far, you are 5 for 5.
Yeah, it's going to be either really, really good or really, really bad.
And for the record, I'm with you, Greg. It's tempting from a betting standpoint to take Troy in the points because Ole Miss not settled at quarterback and a lot of new faces, and I think John's going to do a good job at Troy. But I think I'm laying the points too. Utah, who is a national title contender this year potentially. Utah is at Florida in the Swamp. This game we're getting to the night games on Saturday. This is a 6 p.m. game on ESPN. So. If you're leaving the Ole Miss Troy game and you're heading to the bar, this is probably one of the games that you've got on the big screens. Utah -2.5 on the road at Florida, Campbell. So the Utes are a 2.5-point favorite in Gainesville.
I'll go with Utah. I don't really have an angle on this one. Just gonna roll with them.
Not a bad team to roll with. Kyle Whittingham's done a great job in Utah over the years, but this is going to be a weather challenge playing in Gainesville. It's stepping into the SEC. Billy Napier's first game as the head coach there in Gainesville. Greg, what do you think?
I was in Texas at the horse sale last weekend, and I met Jake Delholm and his brother, and they're big ULL guys. And I asked them, how they were going to be, and he said, Napier took the janitor. He took everybody. He took every person on that staff. So kind of in a rebuilding thing. And, like you were saying, that weather angle is a kind of a thing. Those Utah boys, don't know humidity like the Florida kids. So I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to go Florida here. I like Florida at home.
All right. We got our first split of the season. That'll be interesting. All right. Miami of Ohio, which is not the Miami of Florida. It's the Miami in Ohio. They are an 18-point underdog at Kentucky. This game at 6 p.m. on ESPN+, so you'll probably have to stream it if you want to see it. The Wildcats, let's see, Greg, I think you're up. Yeah, the Wildcats are a 18-point favorite over the Redhawks.
I like Kentucky here. I'm a Kentucky guy. I've got horses in Kentucky, so there's my angle. I like Kentucky. And I think Kentucky's going to be really – the last 2 or 3 years, they've been a solid program. They've been going to Citrus Bowl and, 9-10 win seasons. And, Will Levis is kind of sneaky good as a quarterback. And, he's nothing flashy, but, I think Stoops does a really good job. And they'll be sneaky good. I'm hoping that they beat Florida, and the Ole Miss Kentucky game's an undefeated matchup and a pretty big game. So I'm going to go Kentucky here. I think they roll.
All right, Campbell, he's going to take Kentucky and lay the 18 points. What do you think?
I'll agree with Greg on this one and go with Kentucky. This is another one I don't really have an angle on. I guess we have a family member that went to Kentucky. So
we do. We have a cousin that went to Kentucky.
I'll pull the family ankle.
All right, that's good enough. That's a solid pick for both of you. I'm high on the Wildcats. I'm hoping they win here because otherwise I'm going to look like an idiot after talking about them all summer. It won't be the first time, won't be the last. All right, here's a really interesting line, Campbell. You like Alabama and big lines, and by God, you got one right here off the bat. Utah State, which has already played a game. They beat Connecticut in week number 1. Utah State is a 38.5-point underdog at Alabama. This game in Tuscaloosa, 6:30 on the SEC network. What do you think?
I'm just gonna go with Alabama. I've done that. I literally do not think I've ever, even with the big lines, gone against Alabama. So I'm just gonna stick with it.
You've put 49 points on the board with Alabama and come away victorious a couple of times with those big lines. So I'm not criticizing. Greg, what do you think? Is 38.5 a little too rich for your blood?
No, I'm sticking with the Tide. I think I've kind of etched it in stone that, I'm going to take Alabama in the first half and every game until, Saban's not there. And I've heard that through the grapevine that he's just reloaded and there's no telling how good this team's going to be. So if Bryce Young can stay healthy, which probably with 5-star offensive linemen that, are probably going to be in the NFL, he's probably going to stay healthy, and they'll probably put up 50 in the first half for sure.
You know what's interesting is if you talk to people around Tuscaloosa, the one thing they'll tell you that they have, if there is a worry on an absolutely loaded team, it's that they are a little worried about the offensive line. So that's something to watch for over the course of the season. All right, a little closer to home here inside Mississippi, it's Memphis, which upset Mississippi State a year ago. Memphis, Greg, is a 16-point underdog in Starkville against the Bulldogs. This game at 6:30 on ESPNU. A lot of people will be leaving Vaught Hemingway and probably cheering for the Tigers against the Bulldogs a little later in the evening. What do you think? 16 points with the Bulldogs laying them.
I think that's a good line to take. If State wins, they can probably win by 2 touchdowns, and you have the extra change to cover with. So I know Mississippi State's supposedly good. They've got a good defense. I've tried not to, keep up with Mississippi State because I've got so much going on. But with that being said, I've heard that they've got a decent defense. But I just like Memphis here, and I just want to take the points.
All right, Campbell, Greg's taking Memphis, taking the 16 points. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Mississippi State just because of Mississippi. I have no other reason other than that. So
you have a good friend at Mississippi State, right, Olivia? I guess she's out.
Yeah, she graduated.
She graduated, yeah. But you guys
now she goes to Ole Miss, actually.
She's in law school at Ole Miss?
She's in, I think, what's the school? It's like occupational therapy or like speech path or one of those. Okay,
well, good for her. We won't reveal anymore because she might not want to have her identity, complete identity revealed. But she's been friends with Campbell since their camp days, so they've stayed in contact through all these years after camping together at Camp Lake Stevens, which I always thought was kind of cool.
There's so many Mississippi State fans that come to Oxford to finish up their education. I promise you that.
There you go. All right, let's see. It's I believe it's Campbell's turn here. Georgia State, not Georgia, but Georgia State, Campbell, a 13-point underdog at South Carolina. This game at I think 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus or 6:30 on ESPN Plus. I don't write down a time. It doesn't matter. Georgia State getting 13 at South Carolina.
Well, I'm going to use the journalism conference from, I believe, my 10th grade year of high school at South Carolina, and I'm going to go with them. All right.
Good angle.
It is a good angle. They've had a mascot issue at South Carolina this week that they finally gotten resolved. They had to rename the actual rooster.
Yeah.
Because of some.
What is his name? Cocky?
No, that's the
old name.
No, Cocky is the fluffy mascot, like the big person in a
the guy costume with the big belt, kind of.
This is the actual, like at Arkansas, for example,
they have the pig.
They have an actual pig that's called
Tusk.
Tusk. But the big mascot is Big Red, isn't that right? In Big Red, the actual hog that runs around. Like the
yeah, there's like four.
Yeah, they got a whole little family, don't they? They got
yeah, they have suey, pork chop.
Oh wow.
Big Red.
But the actual pig, it's called Tusk, and at South Carolina, the actual gamecock was called Big Spur, and something happened with the ownership, and the university recommended that they change the name, and after a little fun with a potential name, they decided on General.
So the bird's name is chicken's name is General.
Is going to be General, but they contemplated the idea this week of calling it Cock Commander, which they realized they just couldn't do for obvious reasons. I'm sure it led to some funny meetings, but that couldn't happen. So it's going to be.
I think Cock Commander would be great. I mean, I can only imagine how that came up in a meeting. That just. Well, I was thinking about General Spur or something like that.
Nope. So we've got Campbell's going to go with the Gamecocks, and she's going to lay the 13. What do you think, Greg?
I kind of like Georgia State went to Tennessee and beat them, being a multiple point underdog, and. Yeah. I don't see why they can't, hang in there and give South Carolina give the General Bird some fight. So let's go with Georgia State Panthers.
All right, Georgia State at South Carolina. So you got a split there, and then the last game. This is on Sunday night. Everybody will be recovering from their Saturday or just continuing their Saturday into Sunday. Be a great day. Nobody's got work much on Monday. I do, but most of you don't. Be a great day to light your grill and put some lane train specials on and other things on your grill, and watch this one at 6:30 on Sunday night. Florida State and LSU. LSU, Greg, is a 3.5-point favorite. This game is going to be played in the Caesars Superdome there in New Orleans.
Well, it should be a good little game. That picture of Mike Norvell in college that always, pops in my head whenever I think about Florida State, and I think how terrible that picture is with him in the cornrows. Yeah. And then you've got Brian Kelly pretending to talk like he's been from Louisiana his whole life. I say, y'all. This is kind of a toss up. Okay, I'll take LSU. I like LSU.
All right, Campbell. Greg is going to take the Tigers under Brian Kelly, and he's going to lay the 3.5. What do you think?
I'm going to go with LSU too for this one.
Yeah, I'm with him. Listen, I'm going to tell you, I think this is a blowout. I think LSU wins big. So light your grill and start cooking early, because I think this one's done third quarter. And it's not because I think LSU's particularly good. I think Florida State might be particularly bad over the course of the year. So we'll see. So y'all have differences on Utah, Florida. You have differences on Memphis, Mississippi State, Georgia State, and South Carolina. Otherwise, you're marching in lockstep. So if you just want to make money, take those games that they agreed on and go count your cash. All right, Greg, before we get out of here, tell the people how they can get in touch with you at LB's and what's going on there.
Yeah, we'll have fresh fish tomorrow. Always call the store. I know I get emails and stuff like that, and Instagram messages. It's hard for me to keep up with everything, but always call the store, 662-259-29999. And like I said, I had a customer today call, and they wanted 12 jalapenos and 12 stuffed mushrooms, and they came and picked it up, and it was ready to go. So it always helps us because kind of short-staffed up here, but we're trying to get everybody taken care of, and everything helps out whenever we know ahead of time to where we can take care of a big order like that. So, but yeah, just always call the store, and we'll be ready to go and have it ready for you.
Campbell, good luck to you guys. Enjoy the party. I'm sure that even if you don't win the game, you'll win the party at wherever you're going over the course of the weekend. Your first football season where you're perfectly legal. You don't even have to fool with fake IDs, and not that I'm sure that you never had a fake ID.
No.
But now it's
Campbell, did you get a library card?
No, I don't have one.
Oh, you need to get you a library card. They're selling them right now. It's a thing to do since you live in Oxford.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, when you get back, we can probably sneak a library card. All right, enjoy the weekend in Fayetteville, Greg. Enjoy the weekend in Oxford, and good luck to everybody's teams. If you're traveling to Oxford, please be safe, and hope you enjoy this show. Hope you stop by LB's 2008 University Avenue in Oxford. Tell Greg that you heard about it here on The Butcher versus the Spin Instructor, and we'll be back with another show next week. Get you ready for week 2 in the SEC and elsewhere with Campbell and Greg. So for Campbell and Greg, I'm Neil. That's it for this episode of Butcher versus Spin Instructor. Talk to you next week.